Oh, there we go. I am recording, so you guys can
Yeah, I want to get
start
going
whenever you
sooner
like.
than later.
I'm all good. Thank you.
Thanks, Justin. All right, good. All right, good evening, Merrimack. Welcome to the February 26th Board of Commissioners meeting for Merrimack Village District. Call the meeting to order at 5:01 p.m. We'll first stand and conduct the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. All right, so we have all 5 commissioners here in the room. So the first thing we're going to do is cover the evaluation of the PFAS polishing and piloting options with Underwood Engineers, and it looks like we got Peter on the Zoom call here. How you doing, Peter?
Yeah, you have me, but you also have Keith and Lynette. They are in a car, and Lynette, she wrote the report, so she's going to be pretty much leading it. I'm just kind of here to help out.
So, all right, good.
Yeah. Lynette, can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can. Yeah, we got you now.
Okay, yeah, okay, great.
Keith was still working on it. Yep. We struggled a bit, but we got it.
Yeah, so Keith and Lynette are, they had another meeting tonight, so they're in the car in the parking lot of the next meeting, so.
All right. Yeah, that's why we got you guys on first. We'll try to get through you first so you can get on with your night.
All right, thank you.
So we got your, looking at the PFAS polishing options right now.
Yep. Did you guys have any questions or thoughts on any of that?
I haven't looked at it.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
So it looks like we're looking at, what do you got? You evaluated several,
Yeah, so what we did, Don, is we met with a bunch of different media suppliers, you know, GHD resin, some of the novel medias, and kind of pitched to them the idea of what you guys wanted to do. You know, that you've got these GAC filters, you are looking for something either to replace or to polish with at the end, you know, that would handle the short chains better than what the GAC is. And most of them came back and nobody wants to polish because most of them don't do, well, at least the GAC and the resin, you know, you're looking at the same thing that you have, you know, so adding more media at the end that isn't going to do any better with the short chains doesn't help you a lot. I mean, it might give you some flexibility as far as like, you know, getting through the summer and being able to stretch some run times or something like that, but it's not kind of the silver bullet you're looking for. And then there's a couple of novel medias that are at various points of being used and being piloted and going full scale that seem like they might be worth looking at. That's why we thought, you know, pilot would be the next step to get those pilot columns going at 4 or 5 at least, and you know, start looking at those medias. Most of what they were able to give us, you know, the Fluorosorb is kind of further along, if you will, in the process than Dexorb is. You know, so they have a little bit more data available, but still, you know, they didn't have any data that I could find that, you know, dealt specifically with PFBA and PFPEA, the two that break through really quickly. You know, the first short chain that they had that you guys have is the HXA or HXS, I think. So those are still a bit of an unknown, you know. It seems like it would be a good idea to try them and see what you get for, you know, what those medias could do for removal of short chains, you know, and then if we got some pilot data with those, you know, maybe something's viable for either polishing or replacement, at that
Right.
point.
Yeah, so I don't know how you pronounce it. The Lanxess, LANXESS resin.
Yeah. They're,
On,
my take on them is they were they're a resin manufacturer, and they seem like they're kind of higher up. They provide resins to like an ECT, and I think they make resins for Calgon and that sort of thing. So they were kind of like a step removed. So I don't think they would be someone that you'd be that we would want to deal with directly for, providing media, servicing it, that kind of thing. I mean, I think you want to look at, a Calgon, a Purolite, those kind of vendors on the resin, and then again, on the resin side, they've all come back and said, first of all, the resins don't do much better, if any, than the GAC does as far as the breakthrough, as far as getting many more bed volumes or anything. And then there's also the concern with the high chloride level, because you have chlorides orders of magnitude higher than what we're trying to deal with the PFAS, right? I mean, we got parts per million of chlorides and competing with parts per trillion of PFAS. So that they've raised that before in an issue, as an issue. And, we looked at it when we were designing 7, 8, 2, and 9. And, basically they came back and said, yeah, this isn't a good application. We don't want to talk to you. So, I mean, it's one of those, if you guys are still interested, still want to, I mean, we did include it as like one of the columns, to maybe we go ahead and we try some resin. But I mean, just on the surface, it doesn't seem like it's really a viable option to consider, given the price of it and the performance of what they're telling us, how they're telling us it's going to perform. So.
I was just looking at page 5 under table 2 for that product. And the bed volumes over there are like, 150,000 to 180,000.
That's what they gave us, and I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
I was looking at that saying this is like way better than we're getting now, but
yeah. But then you look at what the other resin manufacturers have said. You
it's
look
nowhere
at
near that.
you look at page 7 of what Purolite's given us, and it's nowhere near. So I kind of wrote that off. I mean, that's what they sent us, but I don't believe it. So,
but on page 5, am I correct? Those bed volumes, those high bed volumes, those are based on the water already going through both carbon vessels and then running through a polishing filter with this media in it, with this resin, right?
Right.
That's not replacing what we have. That's adding on to what we have. So that's probably why those bed volumes are that much higher. And I don't know that.
But the thing is, they're going to break, you're going to have those short chains breaking through. And so why would it, unless the media has a greater absorptive capacity for those compounds than the GAC does, it's going to break through quickly, just like a GAC vessel would.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I've been doing a little more research, and a lot of the resins are better at the small chain sulfonic parameters as opposed to the acids.
Yeah.
So like the PFBS, it'll remove better than PFBA. A is the acid, S is the sulfonate or whatever.
Yep.
So unfortunately, we have the acids that PFHXA, not PFHXS. We have PFBA instead of PFBS. So we're stuck with the acids, which are the harder ones to remove on the short chains.
Yep.
So the gift that keeps on giving, that's what we're stuck with. So I guess this all boils down to the question of if we want to run the column tests, we either do it on raw water with the anticipation that we might want to use some of those resins or carbons to replace what we have now, or we run the pilot test with the effluent that's already going through our carbon filters and feed that into the pilot columns with the anticipation that would be done as a polishing study. So those are kind of the decisions we need to make as to how we're going to conduct the pilot study. Do we-
And Don,
we should-
we were
One is-
recommending use raw water.
One while do another.
Wait a minute, there's two people talking at once here.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Erin.
Why can't you set up like one well to do raw water and one well to do clean water? Because we have the pilot equipment at 3 wells.
At the treatment plants, you mean?
So yeah, so
Yeah.
one plant would run raw water, one plant could run the polished water. They could have the same media in them. And then you could look at it. If you're gonna do it, you
Yeah.
might as well.
Yeah, we could do that. I mean, there's always, somebody's going to say, well.
The water quality have to be
water
pretty similar
quality,
though.
Yeah,
Well, we have multiple
We have
columns.
multiple, so we could actually set up
Yeah.
one column with our media.
I don't think you
We might
can.
have to
You'd have to repipe a bunch of stuff.
we might have to change some tubing on the top and maybe push it back down through.
Yeah.
And use that as the feed for the resin.
But Lynette just said it wasn't a good idea though.
They did. So that's why I'm just saying, but the study that they're doing is for polishing. But basically,
Right.
we're,
I mean, you could do like 2 out of 3 for polishing and then set up one plant that just did raw water just to see what happens.
we could do that.
I would have to run a line either, so we're set up in all the plants now to use raw water. So I'd have to
On a clean line.
run a line.
Yeah.
Finish.
Good thing we
Don, our
published.
thought was, if you run it with raw water, that you would, get more data, right? Because it would give you information on removal capacity, with everything else in it. So you could look at it as a replacement. And you could also use that data to kind of assess how it would perform on a polishing situation, right? Because it would only be better than what you just did with the raw water. And then the other issue is if you're feeding finished water from the existing treatment plant, you're going to have you could have some variation in, flows, water quality, depending on when you're changing out your GAC and that sort of thing, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not so much because I guess you're coming out non-detect. You're running it at non-detect, but
I guess that would probably be an issue too. If we're running the finished water and we're running non-detect right now, then we're basically
Yeah, we're
putting
yeah.
nothing in those.
That's
So
a
we'd
good
have to
point.
have at least some short chain compounds go to those.
So
if
that
that's the-
pilot test might last forever because most of the time we have non-detect
You have
coming out of our
non-detect.
carbon vessels.
right.
How long,
But is there other stuff in the water that's gonna take up space on the media? That's the
Chlorides-
question.
Chlorides take space on the resin, I think.
Right.
Yeah. So we definitely have chlorides in our wells, so that's an issue.
Might be the kind of thing that you don't turn on until the short chain breaks through.
And maybe is there a way to plummet from like, if the short train breaks through the lead tank, is there a way to plummet from the effluent of the lead tank before it goes to the lag to the columns?
Probably. Probably add.
or even
tap.
from a monitoring port or something like that?
Yeah, these are
That
very
might
low, very
be
low
more-
flow rates. like-
So
Polishing information.
trying to cut this short.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just voice my opinion. The more data we can get, the sooner, the better.
Mm.
So if you guys want to figure out a way to do this across the board with as many of those promising medias in as many variations as possible, time is working against us, right? The longer we wait with a final decision of what option we choose, if there is one, we keep replacing media sooner than we have to, right? And we keep sending water down the line that we don't want to send, right? Until we get to the replacement schedule. And I don't want to design this personally here at the board. My statement is as many variants that you can get us, as much data as we can get in the shortest amount of time. That would be my preference. How you do it, tell us how much money you need and how much time you need, and we take it from there. That's the way I see it.
Because they were saying, looking at this report, I wasn't super excited that we're gonna find a magic bullet, but
Right.
I think the more data we have, the more we can make decisions down the line.
So you've, Underwood did come up with 6 proposed columns to test. And so I had one question on This is between page 18 and 19. The first two are fine, the control of what we have now. And I was wondering, do we really need a control? But I guess we kind of do, because we don't, otherwise you don't really know if it's better than what we have now or not, I guess. The Calgon F400 acid washed. And then the third one, Norit, the GAC 1240. Are we, what is that one? Did you have a discussion of the Norit in this document? I don't know if I missed it or,
No, we didn't specifically. That is the carbon that you've been using for virgin makeup right now. It's the acid wash Norit carbon.
oh,
Um,
okay.
So we were thinking that's a likely one that you might be looking to switch out to. So it made sense to throw it into the,
It's something
the,
you probably want to see,
pilot.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
you know.
no, definitely.
So then the only other, and I do definitely want to test the Fluorosorb and the Dexorb. Those are new. They seem to have good. Now, they said that they would actually work with us, right? Those two vendors, as far as if we wanted them to do the test?
Dexorb was because, well, but at least back in, like October when we talked to them, they were very interested. They're trying to get their medias piloted around, they're trying to get data and trying to kind of
Right.
get themselves out there. So they had pilot columns. They were willing to bring pilot columns in and hook them up if you wanted to, kind of thing. I don't know if that helps you much. If you're gonna go through and do the full pilot anyways with the columns you have, it could be something else sitting there, but it would probably be a quicker hookup. But
Lynette, would it be better on that one? Would it be better if they're gonna offer their columns, because the column configuration that we have set up right now at the plants is not for Dexorb and stuff, because they need a smaller column, right? Because they have a shorter empty bed contact time. So would it be better to actually use the columns that they have for some different things? And then if they're offering up their columns, and can we just temporarily mount that, right next to the other columns and
they
because
don't
it
even
should be
get
all set
mounted.
up.
They come in on a skid.
Okay, yeah.
And they were offering also to like do the analysis, send it to their lab and do it and all that. That's why that was kind of attractive, because they were offering to basically deliver the equipment, set it up. We would take the samples and ship them back to them, and they would do the analyses and everything, So it was that's why it was kind of attractive for them to offer that, whereas the other manufacturers didn't offer that.
Yeah, I mean, as long as everything else is the same, if the empty bed contact time is different, I think we can just vary the flow and accommodate for that difference. I don't think it's got anything to do with the volume of media, as long as you put a different flow rate through it or something.
Well, I think it would just be a different volume of media, right? Instead of having, those columns were designed for GAC, so you've got four sections of GAC that kind of mimic what you have in the full size vessels, with sampling ports every quarter of the depth.
Right.
So if with these other medias that have lower contact time, maybe you only have 1 or 1.5 or 2 of those sections full of media,
So you wouldn't be taking samples at the 25, 50, and 75% ports of those
Right.
medias.
Right. But I'm the skid mounted pilot columns that they have, I don't think they have intermediate sample ports on them anyways. So I think what they would be bringing in, you'd have influent, effluent, So I don't know if it would be much different. That's my
I guess
take on
the
it.
only other,
We can ask them, but
yeah. The number 6 is the Purolite PFA 694E resin. And I was kind of wondering about substituting, instead of that, maybe try the Lanxess resin. Just because they claim they can reduce so much more, and Purolite is basically saying this, they're estimating it'd be worse than what we're getting right now from the GAC. So I don't know. I'd kind of like to do both, but we only have 6. We only have 6 there, so I'm not sure. I guess at this point, I'm trying to figure out if those 6 are the best 6 that we want to test. But I think at least if we can get a consensus that we probably want to test at least this, wells 4 and 5, this we're talking about starting first, to do it on the raw water and not for polishing. That's at least something we can, that's a directive that we can all agree on. That's different than what we were thinking about from the start. So I'm in favor of doing that, I think, instead of doing the polishing. But I'm just not sure about these 6 particular resins that are chosen. If Dexorb could do their own skid next to our columns, and that frees up a slot, then maybe we can add the Lanxess resin to that, to the number 5 slot. To the number 5 slot if the Dexorb goes to its own skid. But that, I guess that's really the final comment that I have on this. I think you guys did a really good job on getting into all of the information that we were really looking for on this, so I'm happy to see that. So I guess if that being said, I don't know, maybe we can decide on what columns, what resin or whatever we want to test. Probably don't have to make that decision right at the moment, but as far as moving forward on the pilot test, that was in a separate document that you guys sent over to us, right? So.
Yeah, and my thought with that was to try and lay out some of the details of like how might propose to do the pilot, so we could
Right.
discuss, everybody get on the same page. And then my thought was, we've talked about with Ron and Brian of, do they have the time to set these columns up and get them started up and, deal with getting the media and all that stuff? Or do we want to try and hire somebody, either the company that designed the columns or somebody like Blue Leaf or something to come in and like kind of get it going and then hand it over, and you guys, take the monthly samples and send them into EPA or whatever you're doing for the lab. That might make sense. So, we could use this pilot protocol document to, get costs from them, say, this is what we're looking at doing, how much would it cost to have you guys come in and get this thing started up and running, and then hand it over, kind of thing. That was our thought.
So who would kind of process the results in reports and things like that? Is that an outside consultant as well, or is that something,
We could, Matt, I think we could do however you want, depending on who, if you don't set them up yourself and we hire somebody to start it up and get it going and stuff, we could have them do it. You can feed us the data and we can do it.
Okay.
I think at the end we'll have some engineering.
Well, right. We would, if we did it like, I'm just thinking, the normal way we do a pilot is we hire, Blue Leaf to come in and do the pilot. They give us a pilot report and then we do the engineering part afterwards.
Right.
We could do that, or, if EPA is running the lab samples, I don't know. Do you guys know what the scope of what EPA is offering is exactly? I was just wondering, are they just doing lab analysis
and the timing?
Yeah. Are they looking at any, analysis or evaluation of it?
They would, basically, we would send off the samples to them. They would do the analysis. I did ask if the engineering was included as well. At the time he indicated that could probably work. I was kind of waiting on some sort of a report on how we were going to perform the pilot, get back to EPA, and then go from there. Get something set up kind of on how we were going to run the pilot, and then make the arrangements with EPA, let them know what we're doing.
And I think this pilot protocol could be used for that too. It's something it once, the board, and if you guys are all in agreement with something, we basically take this document, send it to EPA, say, this is what we're thinking about doing. Are you guys in agreement? And, what part of it do you want to be involved in?
And then Ron, do you know their timetable? How fast would they be ready to move?
I think they were ready to go now, but I don't know their timetable.
So that stuff that's coming from overseas, I'm trying to find the name right now, that Dexorb. If that is coming from overseas and is supposed to be regenerated to destroy the PFAS and to reuse it, we're not gonna have to send it overseas, do we?
No, and when we talked to them, I think if I remember correctly, they, and this was last fall, we talked to them. They were kind of still in the early stages. I think their vision was to kind of do something like the GAC manufacturers are doing, have a plant set up on the East Coast, have a plant set up on the West Coast, but they weren't quite there yet because they didn't have any full scale plants. I think there's one planned for Massachusetts. I think they were just finishing piloting on it and they were planning to go to design, but I don't know all the details.
That might be information we want to inquire about. We don't want to end up trucking PFAS-laden media across the ocean twice a year.
That's where they were, almost ready for prime time, if you will. I mean, the Fluorosorb, they seem like they're ready for prime time. It's interesting because we originally talked to them back when we were designing 2.9, and they were kind of at that stage where they weren't quite ready for prime time. They had a few pilots going, and they were kind of trying to figure out how they were going to distribute it, and how they would load it, and how they would take it away, and whatever. And they seem to have kind of worked through that now, and they're starting to get some full scale plants up and running, and Dexorb, I think, is just a few steps, they're still back at those earlier stages where they have concept, but they don't have, necessarily things in progress yet for, full scale working.
Which one are they using at Pease?
Well, they just, I think it says that they just went to GAC, right? Got rid of the resin.
No, Pease had a Sorbix resin, and they just changed at least some of them out to a Calgon resin. I don't know if they changed all their vessels, but they changed at least some of them out. And then they still have GAC after the resin. They've got those GAC vessels.
Oh, it's after, okay.
Huh. I mean, I'd still like to test the Dexorb just to know if it's a magic bullet, and then.
Right, if it is, then maybe, within a few years, they're not ready to go full scale with stuff.
If they have a place to regenerate the media, then we'll know we would use it once we can regenerate it, if that day comes. So I don't know, I guess I'm still just trying to see, does it make sense to get a third party involved? Like, what did you say, Greenleaf or Blue Leaf?
Blue
Or
Leaf.
do we, or is this something we could do on our own between our staff and you guys yourself? Do you feel more comfortable bringing in a third party? Like you mentioned that they usually do the report or something, right? So I don't know. Kind of asking your opinion on that, I guess.
Well, it's not a bad idea. Maybe we can start by getting a proposal from them, because it's what they do every day, and they're just really good at it. They're really efficient at it, and we have a good relationship with them. And they've been in town with you guys before too, so it wouldn't be the first time we've worked with them with you. I think
experience with them myself.
Yeah,
Aware of them, yeah.
I've worked with them all over New England, yeah.
Huh.
yeah, and I don't know that at the end of the day it's going to cost much more one way or the other unless you did it. But I think your staff probably have their hands full too. So I mean, I think they could help out in a pinch, or maybe we could figure out a way that they can help, because Blue Leaf's pretty flexible. But I think it would just be a nice, neat, buttoned up way to do it, because they're this is what they do.
That's their kind of specialty, right? Yeah.
Right. That's all they do. That's all they do. So
Did a really big project up in Brunswick and Thompson recently as well.
yeah.
So that would probably reduce kind of your scope of work if you're not having to process the reports and whatnot. I just want to make sure we're not paying double for something to have another consultant come in or something, right?
And our role would then just stick to, how we would apply that to facility improvements from an engineering perspective. That's where we would get back involved.
Right, right. What we do with the report after basically is your bag. Yeah. All right, so does it make sense maybe to get them involved in looking at this and have a proposal developed from them?
Yeah.
And see what they would charge for something like this?
Yeah, that was my thought. So if you guys are on board with, the protocol as it is of kind of what we were proposing for the pilot, we can get some quotes to, to have somebody come in and help.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Lynette, don't you want some time in there just to be, as they're running the pilot, just to make sure that everything is sort of running the way and we're getting the numbers that we think that we're anticipating?
Yeah, I mean, that's normally the way we would do a
But just,
pilot is
it'll just
we
be,
have, we
some
have
kind of
kind
a-
of some coordination budget, for
Right.
just, answering questions and, yeah, looking at things as it's going along kind of thing.
All right, that sounds good. Any other questions I know you guys have to check out pretty soon, right? So,
And we got another 15.
all right, good. Anybody else have any other questions for Underwood on this?
Are we gonna come out of this pilot study though, is there a possibility we'd come out with something good? If you said the manufacturer didn't recommend the application, are we gonna convince them otherwise?
I think they didn't recommend doing the polishing, but we're gonna be testing this.
To replace the gag?
Yeah,
I see. Okay,
yeah.
as long as we feel comfortable that the manufacturer's gonna work with us after we go through all this
Right.
and not say, no, we're not giving you a warranty, but here it is.
Well, they probably
Yeah,
would,
give it a
I don't know if
warranty.
they would give us a warranty or not, but this would kind of tell us what we expect to see anyways, I guess. The warranty is only on the first volume of media anyways, and then so we've learned that it doesn't really matter. I don't think.
It really matters is who services them in a timely manner and how you can get your hands on it easily. That's what really matters.
Yeah.
They're the best media in the world, but if you can't get them to change out the media and bring it back,
Like,
it's useless.
What do you know about the
Have it
warranty?
Although it's so new that
Yeah,
as soon as somebody good comes along, everybody's gonna go use the good one,
yeah.
and you're gonna have a problem again.
I don't know that anybody warranties the short chains anyways. I think they only warranty the regulated compounds.
And even that was,
Yeah.
spend more money in flushing the arsenic out. and
Yeah.
iron. And we got the warranty back by a long shot.
Right,
The question is fair, no doubt about it.
right, right. All right, so I guess, and do we, anything else to do in the meantime, other than getting a proposal from Blue Leaf? Blue Leaf or Green Leaf, did I just say that?
Blue leaf.
Greenleaf's the restaurant.
Okay,
Actually, that whole arsenic and iron could be also something. Have you guys looked into any risk of receiving with any of these new media, receiving contamination like we did with the GAC the other year?
Florida Storm did have a little bit of data. They gave me, I think it was on their backwash. I think it might be in there, actually.
yeah, I think it's in here.
There wasn't a lot. And in the pilot protocol, that's where we've recommended kind of, I don't remember what the numbers were that we put, but maybe the first 100 bed volumes, we were recommending additional testing to try and assess, what we're getting off for pH change, metals, anything else, kind of coming off the media.
Because there could be a lot of value switching to different media if we can avoid running that risk, right? I mean, we used a lot of water and we wasted a lot of money just getting that gunk out. And if we don't have to risk that again, that would be quite a bit of value right there. Because we're basically, we were loading, I guess loading. We were loading the GAC with PFAS just to get the iron out
Right.
and the arsenic.
And the issue, the issue is that when we did the initial testing and we tested a lot of the other GACs had much higher arsenic concentrations on them.
Mhm.
So that was the concern. We were trying to get away from the arsenic, and in doing that, maybe ended up with a media that is more vulnerable to the iron. I don't know. I'm still digging around trying to find out what they've seen at other places, other GAC, and trying to see what we can figure out. But
But I think in your presentation of the results in the end, I think the risk of contamination, any contaminants that we're finding when we get the fresh media is a major decision factor.
Yeah.
We should be very clear on the communication on that one.
Yeah, so the first 3 carbons are acid wash for that very reason, as far as the worry about the arsenic and everything, that
Right.
should solve that.
To see if getting the acid rinsed, if that will knock the arsenic down enough that, you don't have that issue. Because that's an issue, right? I mean, if you're using their standard versions and, you already had this once or twice, with really high arsenic concentrations, that how do you rinse that to the groundwater? It ends up with a whole issue with DES and, much less, you certainly don't want to be putting arsenic near your wells, so
Right.
it's a big issue when you're discharging to the ground. And I think a lot of places are grappling with it, and the solution so far has been to try and use the acid rinsed carbon. But, my question is, does that not get down enough that, you can discharge to the ground without an issue? Or is it
Right.
still, 5 or 10 or something, just slightly over, but still too much,
Yeah, I mean, I think this would be good to send this report. You've done a lot of the legwork, have Belief.
Eric, the guy's name is Eric.
Have Eric review it. I'd be interested to know whether he would prefer that he recommends we test the Purolite or the other resin in that 6th slot. I don't know if he has an opinion on that. And maybe there's other stuff in here that he might have other opinions on, but it'd be good to get another party involved, specialists, I think, at least a proposal from them.
Now, he's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to these medias too, because they're out there piloting them all the time in Mass and stuff. So
I've seen his name out in Mass and some stuff that I've looked at as well. So I do know that's their specialty. So do you think by the next meeting, we could have proposals from them and possibly from you guys to coordinate all this?
We'll check in with him. I mean, it depends a little bit on his backlog, but we'll give him a call. And, he likes, so we'll see what we can do. We should know. If we don't have it, we'll know when we're going to get it.
Right. And then, Keith, I know you and I spoke to UMass Lowell about doing a capstone project with this, but I think the timing is probably not going to work out. Sounds like we probably want to move on this sooner than the first semester of, September, basically, right? So, but didn't one of the guys say that maybe there would be a grad student that might want to do a project on this or something? So, I don't think that's going to involve, it's going to affect us moving forward on this. I think we want to move forward whether we get any participation or not from UMass Lowell or any other college, I think, right?
I agree. I mean, based on the conversation you and I had, it's going to take a while to pull that together, and fall of 24 was the soonest we could get anything going. And so I could see a spinoff, Don. You guys should drive this, do what you need and want and when you want it. And if there's a spinoff that fits UMass Lowell, we'll do it that way.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And did you want to go with the Dexorb in a? We'd want to check to see if we can get separate pilot columns for that, and then we can test both of the resins, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to maybe try to look into that too and see if talk to Dexorb, see
if they're still interested in doing.
Right. And if they don't have the intermediate, 25, 50, 75% sample taps, talk to Blue Leaf and see if that's an issue, they might want to have everything just consistent and standardized, which I can understand, too. But so those are really the only two, the two things I'd like to follow up is the deck sorb, whether they can do their own skid. And that opens up a slot for the other resin. And if they do provide their own skid, is Blue Leaf okay with having it that way? Or would they prefer to just stick with the 6 columns that are all identical to each other?
Yep.
All right, I don't know if anybody, any other questions? I think beat this one pretty well.
Right.
Good. No, but this is good. I'm glad you guys, this is a good summary. It's good to hear seems like there was a lot of research put into this and everything, so I'm happy to see that.
Yep.
Appreciate that.
Great. Thank
Well,
you.
Lynette, we should also check with them, and if they don't have those 70, 25, 50 and 75% ports, can they tap those into it so we have those,
Yep.
Unless it just might be one solid column and that you're saying maybe they can tap into those.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
put a port in there, just tap it, yeah.
yeah. Good point. All right. All right, awesome. So I guess that's all we got for at least Keith and Lynette. Peter, are you on for something else on the list later, or I don't know?
No, I don't think so, because you guys have a pretty short agenda today, I think.
Yeah, we got a public hearing at 7, so.
Okay,
All right, well, if there's no other questions on our part, everybody good with Underwood, then I guess we can let you move on to bigger and better things.
great, thanks, have a good night.
Thanks a lot, you guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, bye. All right, so now we're gonna get back on the agenda here, the Finance and Human Resources Review with Kristen.
Yes.
Thanks for waiting for us, Kristen.
No worries. We are 58% through the year. And as of right now, we are running for our net ordinary income at 1.2 million. Our revenues right now are running if 58% of the total revenue budget of that 6.19, 3.5, we're running about 5%, 5.5%. Interest is still significantly higher due to inflation rates. In terms of expenses, again, if 58% of our overall budget, we're running about 29% less through January. That's mostly made up of our chemical or lack thereof using of chemicals. Salaries are running about 5% less than the salary budget. And equipment account 70010.1. I had to do a transfer of $6,608 that was actually from FY23. It belonged to one of the projects, but operations paid for it up front. So that kind of puts that account in negative to make sure that everything's in the right bucket now.
Okay.
And then new meters account 70040.2. That's with our new construction that's going on throughout the town. Implementing all the new meters.
Right. So the 29% on expenses, is that the $3.511 million?
So 3.5, 11471.
Yeah.
That's roughly 58% of our overall 6,019,000. So that's
Oh, all right, all right.
58%, that's where we would be in terms of 58% of the budget. So if we look at what we're actually running, which is 3.7, we're running about 29% over. Does that make sense?
Under.
How'd you do that?
Sorry.
I was gonna, so I
Can you
asked,
come do it for my company too?
well, I think I asked you that.
Chemicals is really what's driving that.
Well, I think I keep asking that. There are some expenses that are, singular throughout the year or, once or twice. And a couple of years ago, we talked about creating reserves and then recognizing those reserves monthly, proportionally. So we don't have that fluctuation in the cost.
So what I have done this year is I've done a lot more into prepaid and spreading that cost throughout the year. I've
Right.
done that with a significant amount of stuff that used to just hit in one lump sum
Right.
invoice. We do the payroll accrual each month. So that is also kept throughout the month. I have not done sick or vacation, that's still done annually. Can do that monthly. But that's really the only thing that isn't spread out,
Okay.
aside from our loan payments,
And when you say prepaid, that's actual prepay or are you creating reserves?
creating reserves. So we pay the invoice upfront, but it may, so say, for instance, a lot of it is our software renewals. So the invoice may be $10,000, but I'm paying that invoice upfront with cash, but I'm actually doing that expense to add
Okay.
on top.
Okay, so it's deferred expenses. Okay. All right, good. Thank you.
Yeah, because we probably want to hold on to the money to get interest on it instead of paying it every month,
Well,
right?
we pay it in full, but in terms of how you guys see it, in terms of expenses, it's spread out.
All right,
So
okay.
it doesn't, that 10,000 doesn't hit in February, but it's covering March through the next, so.
So when we compare the percentages at each month of the year,
They're more.
We're more
they're in
accurate,
line with
yeah.
exactly what-
Basically,
yeah,
at the beginning of 12 months, you pay it, but you don't see the cost on the P&L. You park in the expense on the balance sheet. 1 month into it, you accrue or you recognize
Yep.
1/12
Right.
1/12 of the expense on the P&L, and you only park 11 on the balance sheet. 6 months in, you're recognizing half of it on the P&L,
Yeah,
on
okay.
profit and loss statement, and save half of it or
So
still have it on
We're
balance
doing
sheet.
that with significantly more invoices than we had in the past.
Right.
So that each month is more realistic.
how about interest payments on bonds? Is that something, because that's semi-annual, right?
It's semi-annual, so aside from vacation and sick accrual,
Yeah.
our loan payments and interest payments are not spread out, so those hit
Right,
at the end of the year, or whenever they do, but that's a one-month sum. I can amortize them throughout the year.
I mean, I don't know how much work it is to do that, but I think because those are big spike numbers
They
that,
are big spike numbers, yes.
so we might be thinking we're doing really well for the first 5 months, and then the 6th month, you pay this big amount, and all of a sudden, we're biting in deeper into the budget than we thought we were the previous 5 months. Yeah, so I understand what you're,
Yeah, and this is much better than it used to be, so.
right.
There's no doubt about that.
So any questions on where we are with expenses or revenue?
The other thing I'd say on that question too is if you looked at the ordinary income and if you had that budgeted throughout the year, knowing that you didn't amortize all this stuff, to tell us where we should be. Like, should we be at 1.1 million? Over, in
Okay,
income in order to handle these expenses that are forthcoming. That would also be meaningful, because if it's only $400,000, we got a lot of extra money here.
correct. So this is just operation expenses versus operation revenue. There's the overall net income, not just those differences.
I'm sure there's capital expenditures
Exactly.
portion to
So
it as
that-
well.
So the final number, if you actually jumping ahead, if you look at your profit and loss, you can either go to the previous year or to the month by month in the last column. You go all the way to the end. On the last page. Including all accounts, which is your other expenses and other revenue,
Load line, yeah.
then our net income is 28,000.
That's pretty damn close. All right.
Any other questions on revenue expense? All right, our fund balances. As of right now, we have a unrestricted at about 8.2 for operating. And a total for all accounts at 22.9 million. And that is still what using a reserve for the 33% for the unknowns. So that's keeping that into, backing that out into a trust, if you will, even though it's part of the unrestricted, it's the inventory, uncovered expenses or encumbered expenses, excuse me, system development, which is the amount from the previous year that comes over. And then that 33%. So all of that used to just be considered unassigned funds. Now we're been dividing them out so that we're holding money for very specific things. Any questions on fund balance? Capital reserves. As of right now, the accounts 1.6 for land, equipment's at 3.7, system development is at 300, legal at 108,000, and water purchase and water treatment plant O&M is at 266. These are after what we plan on putting in for our warrant articles of the 800,000, the 200,000, and then the 99,943 for system development. I still have some for next year, things coming out in yellow that we had amounts, then we decided to either push them out or we have new balances. I'm not sure where you guys stand with those. I know that the CIP for right now has been submitted. They did have those numbers in them, but CIP being capital improvements plan. I don't know if these are still planned for 2025 or.
They're on hold right now.
They are all on hold.
Artificial recharge and Mitchell Woods are on hold. Yep.
Okay. Okay, well then with that, then the end of year, I do have again suggestions for the end of 2025 warrant articles that would bring us to 1.6 for land, 3.7 for equipment, 300 for system development. We don't know right now what our amount for this year will be. 108 for legal, and then 274 for water purchase. And the other cycle that the pen and check under water purchase, just like we did last year, we could potentially, with how well we're doing, move that into operating and not come out of capital. Questions on that? And the other, just your spread out of the different budgets. Questions overall? Okay.
I have a question or a comment when you're done.
Okay.
What is the name again of the software company that we're?
Springbrook.
Thank you, Springbrook. I just wanted to let the board know that I attended a call, when was that, 3 weeks ago?
I think so.
Yeah,
That was
with,
Before that day.
right, yeah. So I attended a call between Kristen and I think you were on the call, right, Ron?
Yep.
And Springbrook, I don't think Jill was. And you guys know that I have a little bit of experience in that market of, you know, software services and consulting and implementation projects, and I have to say I had a really good feeling.
Oh, good.
They had a,
It was Travis, our salesperson.
right,
And then actually one of the top engineers is who's
Which-
with us.
Which is always good. I try to not talk to sales when I ask these questions. And they do seem to have a reasonable project implementation methodology in place. They didn't really present anything at that point, but verbally explained to me or to us the approach, and I think they understood the concerns that I brought up in the last meeting, that we need to have some kind of quality tracking, implementation tracking, that we're not blowing through the budget and a year later we realize we need another $5 million, right?
Right.
Not that kind of investment, but so in that regard, I'm okay now with, I got my questions answered, but I do still offer that I would like to stay involved with this project. Obviously at no charge, which I shouldn't be doing, but I'm not the only one doing this on the board. But I think it would be nice to have somebody on the outside that keeps thinking a little bit, right? What's going on? Are we on track? And obviously you guys are in control of this, and I'm not going to interfere with that. So I would be on the sidelines, but I just would like to have an ear on the track, if that's okay, if the board agrees with that.
I'm all for that. Absolutely, sure. Yeah, appreciate you offering that.
And again, maybe it's just, once every 2 or 3 months or something for like a
Chicken.
right. And maybe you guys want to present how you want to set up the project, right? Maybe there is anything in the methodology already that says we're doing some kind of quality gate every 2 or 3 months anyway, and then I just attend that, or maybe it's just get an email and then, maybe it's not a meeting.
And a side note, Aaron, I'm hopefully having the audit at the end of this week.
Right.
So give me a chance to review it, and then I'll let you know.
Yeah, whatever works for you.
The single audit threw them for a loop, so. If the single audit they had to do because of our federal funds for that $3 million grant. But the $3 million grant actually paid off things they already did an audit on. So this was brand new to them. What do they do?
Oh my God.
So they've talked to many, many different people throughout the government. This is new, what do we do? Because at top level, it looks like we got paid twice. And we didn't. So that's why it's kind of taken so long. The regular audit apparently has been done for a while, but they want to give me the lump sum together. So I've been poking him for months. Where are we at? Where are we at? And I finally got, it's in final review. You should have by the end of the week. So.
Awesome.
Good. All right. While you're here, was there something on I don't know if you're gonna stick around or,
I am, because I'll be here for the,
the action items? Let's say if there's some,
For the public hearing as well.
oh, that's right, I forgot about that. All right, so I guess we're good on that. We can,
Somebody can speak to the budget.
move on to the regular session 2. So first thing on that agenda, number 2 is the discussion of the MVD cybersecurity. There's nothing in the packet for that, right? Okay, just want to make sure I didn't miss something,
More of a just kind of going over
what it is.
Wolf had mentioned.
Yeah,
Some of the stuff that we've been.
take it away.
Well, I should probably explain first where this is coming from. The board doesn't know that. So about 3 weeks ago, again, something like that, there was an article in the news about actually one of the, what was it? Some federal agency chair.
CISA?
Yeah, I think so. Right. There was an announcement that a hearing was held in front of some federal committee or whatnot that was specifically addressing cybersecurity concerns for water suppliers.
Yeah.
And I sent that to Dawn as the chair and staff, mainly because one of the things I do is I work in information security management, which includes cybersecurity. It extends past just the digital information. But I do audits myself on the matter. And I know we talked about this maybe 2-3 years ago already, and that was when there was a cybersecurity policy was initiated at the time, right? but it didn't really cover some of the other things that I have learned myself in the meanwhile. And because of that article and the concern that was raised, I figured I'm going to poke a little bit. And the reality is that we have probably not, we're probably covering a lot of the typical stuff in terms of cybersecurity, but not so much in terms of general information security, right? We're looking a lot at IT, but IT is not the only attack vector with information security at all, right? So, and I know we have trainings as well, and I sent probably about 20 questions over, something like that. Some of them were answered very well, right, by Block 5, but some of them actually, for example, when I asked who is monitoring what kind of regulations even apply to us, right, and what kind of safety concepts the industry is recommending, the answer that came back from Block 5 was not even remotely related to what I asked, which tells me, and that's not a criticism about Block 5, because that was not really an IT question, it was a regulatory question, right? So with that being said, I'm happy to hand it over to you guys to get back to where you think we are.
So we just had a audit from Primex, and part of the discussion was like tabletop exercises, that kind of stuff, to kind of find out where our holes could be on that end as well.
They've suggested an outside vendor who will help us do that. And they posed me with one question right off the bat, and I went, oops. So, which is, if everything is down in payroll, you need to get it out. Do you know everyone's salary, less taxes? So I now print the payroll report. It is in a paper, so I can actually handwrite checks from here on out if I have to. But things like that is what this vendor would help us find. That here is our plan. Let's run through it, and where are the holes?
Is there, I'm sorry, well, it's great, you know, about like when it comes to finance stuff and whatever, or information, but what happens if somebody hacks into the system that screws with? I guess my question is, if somebody hacked into the system and not necessarily going after financial information, but more of shutting down the wells and stuff, do we have a way to manually
we
take them offline too, so that we can still provide water, you know?
We would, yes, manually we do. And actually, all of we're all telemetry radio. So the only thing that we really log in for is if we're off site. So here we can log in, it's done through radio. Any of the stations we go to, it's radio. If you're at home, you get a call and you need to log into SCADA, it's done remotely. So that's where the internet comes in on that. But that can be set aside. We can run everything manual if we had to. We can do it from here, we go to 2 stations and run, you know, everything can be turned on. We can go out to each station, turn them on, turn them off, run them on hand or in manual mode.
Part of the issue is that people always look at the internet, but there are so many attack on vectors and scenarios that have nothing to do with some hacker coming from the outside. You know, it's as simple as, for example, what if we have a controller on one of the wells, that was German, on one of the wells that wipes out, right? Do we have a backup of the program? Do we have the equipment to load the program, the backup onto the replacement unit, right? Do we have the skill set to do that? Or at least do we have somebody contracted that has that skill set, right? Right, but again, do we have control if that employee that knows it is still there, right? I mean, there's so many layers in that. I've seen it firsthand where an employee leaves, you know, that employee's old laptop with some kind of old software gets, you know, destroyed, and all of a sudden you have a customer that's left in the dust, right? But and those are just scenarios. I don't even expect an answer right now with this, but I was trying to explain that we have to look at security and emergency procedures from a much broader scale than just, do we use, you know, 2-factor authentication on our email address, right? Or do we have the Wi-Fi router password protected? There's a lot of detail to that I think the general public and even some IT specialists are not really looking at, because they're only looking at hardware and software. They're not looking, for example, at, do we know who all has a key to the building? Right? It starts with something like that. Do we know how many keys exist and who has one? Right? Do we have employees that are no longer with the company that might still have a key to the building? Do we know that? Right?
No.
And that's good, right? I'm not saying you don't. I'm not saying with anything that you don't, right? I'm just saying without having a proper program in place that looks at these things, we don't know how vulnerable we are. That's the concern.
For example, one of my main key broke during one of our sampling. And Christian made me sign out a new one.
Good. It should be. Did you make him sweat?
I have the keys to the actual keys.
Right. Right. And again, it's always nice to know that we did all of these things, but it's even nicer to know the things we didn't do and recognize there's another flank, right? That's what I'm focusing on right now with this request.
And our lock, just as an FYI, our locking system that we have is a medical system.
Mhm.
So it can't be, an employee cannot just go to a hardware store and have a key made. It needs to be approved. Actually, only one vendor has the license, the blanks to be able to do this. This Medco, I'm probably saying it wrong, system that we have.
So that being said, obviously I can't speak for the board. I thought it was something that is worth talking about. I don't know if you guys need anything from the board or if that's something you're just pursuing on your own.
I think once we do this tabletop, we'll be probably revising our cybersecurity and, if anything, our disaster policy. So you guys may be seeing that coming down the line.
Okay.
With River.
And were you aware too, we had a third party vendor audit us a couple of years ago?
Horsley,
Again, Horsley.
who helped us. They actually helped me write the cybersecurity with what they were suggesting is kind of what I did. But at this it's all on paper. So I think a run through would be fantastic.
But it's also just a policy. It doesn't define measures and processes and
Right.
technological solutions. It just says we're paying attention to that. Right, that in a nutshell, that's what it does. It says we're paying attention to that, and this is how we have procedures in place to respond to it, but that's where it stops. Where really the rubber hits the road is to have an understanding what are the technological and logistical and organizational flanks that we have open, right?
Will help us be
What
like,
attack
this is
vectors
what
exist.
this is what we
Right.
said we're gonna
Yeah.
do. Oh, but that didn't work. Or
Right.
that worked really well, or whatever. So, as I said, those policies will have revisions, I'm sure.
Do we know the cost for that kind of
I was
service?
just gonna say, is the third party,
I don't
Budget.
yet, I'm, Primex is, gave me their name, and the person, I just have to make the call to get a quote from them to do the run through.
we had a grant at some point on some of this in the past or not? Am I
We had a
thinking-
cybersecurity grant, which
Thought we
gave
did.
us a second firewall, your laptops. We put up a security wall at the warehouse. And then,
Level 2.
well, 2, I think we did part of the project, and that was grant. And
It was
then
happening sooner than the grant was
So
coming.
the grant money is expended already, that's
that
gone.
is expended,
Okay.
yes. There was a few other things. Another thing I'm also in the works of is changing us to a .gov, which will secure our websites and portals and emails better also. So that application went in last week.
And keep in mind that, whoever specialist you hire is gonna be an IT specialist and maybe an information security specialist. Very few of them understand what a PLC is.
Yeah.
How it's connected to the network, right? Very few of them understand what a, VFD drive is.
Yeah.
The SCADA system. To me, that's actually huge, and I probably shouldn't be saying it out loud on public, but I mean,
So
that's where I'm really concerned.
on our well 2 upgrades, we actually had our programmer meet with the IT
Mhm.
because that well 2 is now so we've always run a backup on our SCADA and it's always been here, but we never had a backup location. This building burns down tomorrow. we're set up over there that we can shift. It's not quite flick up a switch, but we'd have to put something else into place.
Sure.
But that now becomes the backup or the main SCADA that we can go to. We never had that before. So we actually had our IT and our SCADA programmers actually talking and going back and forth, and I can't run this because I can't get through the firewall here, or I need a firewall, and well, then I gotta do this, this, and this to get around that. So they were not around it, but to be able to work with what the security measures IT was putting in place. So it was, you're absolutely correct. They don't always know what's going on, but we had the tool to meet because of that project. And
Industrial controls, the whole subject of cybersecurity is very, very far away because it's a niche application, right? It's not a general public application. And that's why most of these consultants don't even think about it. But I said enough. So let's keep that in mind.
we've got some classes. I'm doing a EPA DES class tomorrow. No.
There was something on March 4th and 5th. Did you sign up for that one or something? It's like a day and a half.
That's the one you sent out? I
Yeah.
think? I haven't yet. I was looking at it.
I don't know if it's,
I believe there was a cost to it, but I
yeah.
was looking at it. I haven't yet.
All right.
I think you signed up for a bit of cyber.
And I would recommend sending that to block 5 and potentially your SCADA and, VFD programmer, service provider. And telling them, hey, this might be a good idea for you guys to attend as well, because we don't know what kind of exposure we have. You guys need to assess that.
Mhm.
And this was specific for water districts and public utilities. So I think that was very, very targeted for what we need. So sending it their way as our service providers and basically telling them we kind of expect you to attend would be a good idea. I would put the onus on them to say, we expect you to attend.
The one actually it's tomorrow. The one I'm going to, or joining in on tomorrow is wastewater based. Threat, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good. Any other comments on that or move on? All right, next on the agenda is the review and approval of the minutes from the January 22nd, 2024 regular Board of Commissioner meeting. If anybody has any edits to suggest or anything, or if not, then I can entertain a motion to approve those minutes as presented.
So moved.
All right, motion by Wolf. I hear a second.
Second.
Second by Ken. No other comments or questions, and all those in favor of the January 22nd minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, no opposition. One abstention, John? All right, John abstains, so that carries 4-0-1 with John being an abstention. Next item on the agenda is the action items. Go through these. Number 2 is due in April, so we can pass by that one. Number 23. What is this? The distribution system results, which were in the packet, I believe. I gotta say, I think we're getting great results in the distribution system. A lot of non-detectable fast compounds. So that's pleasing to see. That's awesome to see that.
That can't be said loud enough.
Right. So this is quarterly, right? So Amanda, if you can change the last column for action item number 23. So I guess the next quarter would be what, March, April, May? Is that June? No, March, April, May. Yeah, May.
To May, okay.
Yeah.
So we can jump on that as well, between 108 samples in one day.
Really?
No, distribution system,
Wow.
regular filters.
Must have been coolers and coolers and, oh yeah.
You got down to the science.
See, we gotta buy like an ice cream truck and just you drive around with that.
It's a good idea.
That'd be great.
Gotta wear the uniform.
We could go to one events and look at ice cream. It'd be great.
The media, the raw water, treated water, the distribution system, and then compliance.
Wow. Wow.
Were you guys sick of each other at the end of the day?
I came out with a black eye, but no, we run on a mission when we get out there. We're gonna hold the process down.
Gets you out of the office anyways, but. All right, number 43, I think we have the next salt mitigation committee meeting scheduled for March 27th.
We also have scheduled a town council meeting with the town council on the 28th.
Oh,
With Jimmy, that's the earliest date, the coordinated with Jimmy's schedule.
okay.
Go over, having them sign off on low salt.
The letter,
Yeah, they are saying that they agree to that.
yeah,
So then we need to go to the school board. That's the only other board, but the town council, approved by the town council, Paul McCauley said he'd get the other signatures that we need on there for fire, police.
conservation. No. Concom? No,
Police, fire, and
there was about 5 different entities, right?
yeah.
He wanted all the town councilors on there. Yep, I'd added that.
Something was told to me, but
Ambulance too, if it was separate from the town.
Huh.
So
Yeah,
he'll get all those signatures. We just gotta get the school board separately.
good.
And he being Paul
McCallie.
Kelly.
All right, any other questions? We can move on. Number 58, that's due in March. Quarterly graphs, minerals.
We wanna go back and change 43 to March.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, why don't you do that, Amanda?
Actually,
Well,
that'll be, the meeting will be before we have.
Yeah.
the meeting, So we might wanna put it for April.
April for 43.
sure.
Okay.
Before I take for that meeting until the 27th and 28th.
All right. So number 58 is due in March, so we can move on. 59, September. Number 67, the,
The mineral graphs are actually in here,
That's what I thought.
additional information.
oh yeah, all right,
So
That's right, I did see
bump
those.
that up, bump those out.
right. So when's the next sampling round, do you know?
We can just do.
They look early in
40
probably
soon.
January.
Would it be May, the same as the other sampling?
They look like they were in the beginning of 24, so I'm assuming January. You normally sample like,
No, it
what?
would be May, so if we sampled in April, then we'll probably get them the end of April, then we'll have them for the May meeting.
All right. So, what number was that again? That was 58. Yeah, so you can change that to May.
Yeah.
The last column, Amanda, number 58. The next one, number 67, that's due next month. You have something on that,
And
Ron?
so my last conversations with them, they're holding off on moving the signs until we have
The letter.
the letter. So whenever we get that in place, that'll.
All right. So we'll leave that one in March. Maybe we'll have an update next month. Number 68, investigate grant funding available for AR in Mitchell Woods, engineering. That was listed as February, but I don't know if we have any update on
I don't have
that.
any update. It's kind of ongoing as we hear.
It
from
is.
them.
Why don't we, I don't know, push that out maybe till May as well
Yeah.
and see if we can follow up between now and then. So 68, Amanda, you can change that last column to May. A monthly update on the water line extension status. 79. You have that in your superintendent report, or
I
you
do.
want to give us?
I'm actually crossing things off because there's a few other things already in there.
You want to wait on it?
So the survey borings and probes have been completed. Design work is ongoing and should be ready for an HDS approval for spring, summer timeframe. And I do plan to put a letter out to the residents this week and packet. With just kind of a preliminary schedule.
And those are both projects going on at the same time.
Yeah.
The one over at Mason and then the other one on like Palmieri.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm off top of my head which ones with what, couple are combined.
Two of them are, yeah, there's actually 3 projects that are covered under 2 grants, I think, right? Yeah. Good. Questions?
I have a favor to ask. Could we add the street names to that line item? Because every time we look at that, I'm like,
Which one are
I
we
should
talking
know it,
about?
but I don't know.
Yeah, we can.
That would be helpful.
Yeah.
Palmer and Mason.
Palmieri, Gerard.
We did this like last
So-
month and we all sit there like.
I know, I just
That's
feel
what I always butcher.
dumb, but it would help me a lot. If it would help this dumb commission a lot.
It's Farmer and Mason is one of them.
Mulligan.
Okay.
I always.
Oh, all right.
Yep.
Farmer, Mason and Mulligan. Okay.
We can send those to her.
Yeah, why don't we send? why don't
So
you
I would appreciate that. The other thing, just a quick comment. I was in one of our neighboring communities across the river 2 days ago and driving through the town. And I'm not gonna say which one, but there was all kinds of construction going on. And I was like, what's this? And I realized it's all water lines. And it clicked on me that it's all their connections to Pennachuck Water. Right? That's why pretty much every road over there is going through construction right now. At least those I rode on or drove on. And I was thinking to myself, man, are we lucky in Merrimack because we have the voters that made, and we have activists in town, you know, that made, and local politicians and state politicians and this board and the staff across the board. Boy, are we lucky because the town would maybe now also be ripped up left and right, water lines put in place if we wouldn't have taken action on this, 5 years ago?
Yeah.
So I was reminded how lucky we are.
Well, keep that in mind when all the roads are ripped up later this summer and it's with these grant.
And when the rate increases come.
During the summertime when it really.
No, but still, I mean, it's to be recognized. I mean, we
Yeah.
are leap years ahead of some, leaps and bounds ahead of some of the other communities in the area.
We're
Right?
actually starting to get,
So,
some, yeah, Kyle Fox actually came in one day, came up from, Westbrook, I think. Westford. They're going down the PFAS road as well, and,
He's in Westford?
yeah, he brought his, chief operator up, they took a look at our couple of, well, 7 and 8, 2 and 9.
Nice.
Ask some questions, and then, Dover as well, they haven't yet, they're gonna come up, next week, I think, or is it
This Thursday.
this Thursday?
Nice. So people are looking at us as like a model to look at. now.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting.
Then the only other one I want to mention is, back to the construction projects real quick, is, WSP. We did have a meeting with them. It has been bid. They have chosen a, contract, and I believe they want to start work this spring as well.
So that's for the St. Gobain remediation of the extending water lines.
Extending water, yeah,
That's-
Christopher,
Where's that over? That's over by what's some of the roads?
Wildcat Falls area, Christopher,
Brenda Lane, is that one of them?
yes.
can we add, sorry,
Add an item and add the streets.
you've been waiting for this one, right? Can we add that too?
Yes.
And I don't know if that's a separate line item.
That
because it's
probably should
different
be a
project, it should
separate,
be a
yeah.
different line item. Just to get an update on that with the schedule and the.
So I guess, Amanda, what we're asking is if you could create a new action item, which would be, St. Gobain water main extensions update.
Staff to give update on water line extension status with name. And I would probably not put the name in there, just put the streets in there.
Yeah. And that's an ongoing monthly update.
Okay, would somebody mind sending me the names of the streets for that?
Yep, I'll
Yeah.
send those along with the other ones for the water main extensions.
Thank you.
So that's in the design phase or the bidding you just said?
It's already been designed, so we sat and,
Yeah. So you reviewed those plans and everything
Reviewed the
already a while
plans
ago.
and,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't like to go on this side of the road, switch it over to here, and, you know, we went through all of that. It got bid. They actually chose a bidder. And, again, it'll be probably spring that they'll start up.
Okay. Good. All right.
There's two different bidders. They bid them out. Apologize. The main line extension and the water hookups were bid separately, I believe.
Oh, I see. Right, right. Yeah, so I'm on the HB 737 committee as well, monthly meetings, and DES does an update, and they've been keeping everybody on that commission apprised of it's St. Bain related, so they tell us the progress that's being made, and they did mention, you know, the status of the MVDs lines that are being extended as well, so it's good. It's jiving with what you're saying. All right, so where are we now? 83?
83, yeah.
So this lockbox is actually, once Springbrook's up and running, we will be switching to their lockbox. Where right now TD Bank enters everything to an Excel spreadsheet that we import in. Their lockbox actually puts it right into the system.
I think we can
So-
close this out.
Significantly less also.
My understanding was that those $27,000 in operating costs is gonna disappear as part of the move to the new software, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's remove that action item. Okay.
Nice. All right, so I guess number 83 has been addressed, so we can retire that one, Amanda. 85, update on the research for financial accounting software ongoing and proposed criteria catalog for building an operational software system.
Same thing.
Yeah, we already made the choice to move forward with, what's the name again?
Springbrook.
Greenleaf. Greenleaf Springbrook.
Blue Spring. No, wait.
Blue Spring.
I'll mess it up.
Um,
Tell them that they have like a little stuff thing, like that we could put it right. in
Leaf
front of-
Spring. No, it's something else.
So that he remembers the name.
They actually apparently have little
Little squishies.
stress balls, but they're little cows.
Maybe we should put one
So
right in
I've
front of
already
No, I
dogs.
need to bang my head
We
on it.
could use some stress cards. yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
number 85 can be retired as well, Amanda, that action item. Number 86, we're still looking at employee handbook update in April. Is that still on target? You okay with that?
Yeah, I've actually been through 95% of it.
Okay.
That last 5%, is like when you
Well, I
do
kinda-
something, it's just
I
always.
put it down because something else was coming up and I can't tell you what, but it
It
was.
can be brain numbing reading that whole thing in one fell
And I
swoop.
just gotta get back on
And he
to
loses it, and then Kristen goes and finds it and digs it up again.
All right, number 87, we're looking at a salt reduction letter to go out in October. So that can stay as is. 88, develop a PFAS filtration media alternative vendor plan. That's March, okay. That's still looking good for March?
Yeah, I don't know, do we want to wait till, I guess it doesn't matter if we have a media chosen.
Yeah, because I think you're gonna say wait for the pilot test and all that. I think that's like still many
Yeah.
months away, yeah. But
Kind
Yeah.
of in my mind anyways, I just gotta put down on paper what.
yeah, or at least just give us an update or something. This did say have it discussed quarterly, so you know, you just give us an update in March. Number 90, investigation of solar power options, that's been slated for April, May, is that?
And change that to me, because I actually should have a proposal by the end of this week.
Okay, so Amanda, just change the contact person from Kristen to Jill on that one, number 90.
You can put it for March.
Okay.
All right. Oh, so you're gonna be ready in March for that too? All
I'll
right,
have a
so,
proposal by the end of this week, so.
all right, so change, you can change number 90, the last column, to March as well.
Do we have
Okay.
one- we have one proposal then, or multiple proposals?
we're getting one proposal to start to see what
Okay,
it's gonna look like, and then we'll figure out which ones make the most sense to do.
thank you.
Okay. 92, updating the website for salt use reduction alternatives. Any update on that one? All right, what, I don't know where else we're looking into any other,
Yeah,
products.
I don't know what's reliable.
I know.
That we've used, we can, unless we find a case study or something, and we offered,
right?
Sean offered to put his flyer put out there, then we had comments about that we're promoting him, which we're not, we're just saying this is an alternative that's local.
Right.
So now we just have to find other alternatives to add in there.
All right, still like to keep that on there. I think we can just bump it out, maybe, see.
Well, it's 50 degrees today, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So when we put out those alternatives, we don't have to put a vendor behind them, right? We can put, product ingredients out there.
if they, I mean, usually what you're gonna see is a cut sheet of a project, of a product.
And what O'Keefe's is doing is they're actually custom making it for residential people, because Brian isn't typically residential, it's more commercial.
Yeah.
So he's actually gonna do either 5 gallon or 1 gallon buckets that can attach, that you can be able to carry
Hand
and
sprayer or
spray
something.
with. You'd have to buy the hand sprayer, but he's gonna do smaller portions, but he's not gonna sell it directly, he's gonna sell it through like Brown's or some of the other hardware stores like Beats Ferry. So he was working on that.
Okay. I think, this was one of the comments I had at the last salt reduction meeting we had about finding a list of alternatives and also something that's not salt, so that the salt restricted private properties, because there was a couple of them asking questions like, what can we use other than sand? And I don't know what there is. And I don't know if anybody knows what's out there.
I'm just having a hard time recommending something when we don't know if that's gonna be any better for the environment.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not salt, maybe it's something else, but it's another chemical.
Right.
I did have a short list that I kind of did come up with some stuff, and it was coffee grounds, it was vinegar, it was.
Yeah. Well, so I'm not gonna be at the next meeting. I think you two said you were able to attend on March 27th, so maybe the DES might have, I don't know if they have any information on that, if you can remember to ask them about it maybe at the next meeting.
I actually think we put the gun in their, the ball in their court. The ball in their court. Basically stating that we would like to have that guidance,
Yeah,
and we kind of look, you actually, I think, said it, we're looking at them for their guidance.
so maybe if we can remember to ask them if they have anything, or actually, even I don't know, maybe send an email to Steve Andrea is his name?
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
And say, hey, is there anything that you can have potentially ready at the next March 27th meeting? So I guess on that one, let's bump that out. What heck number was that now? 92. Yeah, so 92. Why don't we bump that out till April? Because then maybe we'll have some information at the March SALT meeting that we can discuss in April. All right, so you good with that, Amanda? That last column on number 92, bump that out to April.
Yep.
And the last item on here, number 94, assess the
94, can we just check the spelling of the first word?
Yep. Yep. I'll change that. And then what is the date you want for the follow-up on that?
On which one, 94?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no date listed.
Yeah, we can't wait too long because we're looking for potential debt restitution, right? So.
And I am gonna put something together. I could back through. I know Brian wrote up some stuff on what they use and all that, so it's gonna.
I would suggest do it next month. We can always pump it out if it doesn't work out, right? But
Yeah, that's a good point.
to get it going.
And if we're interested in spelling number 67, I think that word should be inquire with an I. Right? Not inquire.
Oh, yeah.
Ron, quick one. Reach out to DES about that list of alternatives. Might behoove us to ask DES to start summarizing the committed actions in the last couple of meetings of all parties involved. DES is kind of like unless we want to do that, right? But we had different, DOT and different towns and everything that all said, this is what we plan to do, this is what we're looking at, this is what we could do. But there's no tangible action item list for everybody. We could have this conversation over and over again for the next 5 years, no offense to anybody involved, and not get anywhere, right?
I think Jamie had that in the past.
We didn't look at it in the last meeting. The last meeting was a little bit more show and tell, right?
Yeah.
But it was like saying, this is what we're doing, this is what we're looking at, this is what we're already doing, this is what we could be doing.
I know
But it was just not tangible, and it was.
The DOT had, because they had contracted subcontractors, so they had something they said that, they can show us that they did something. I'd like to kind of hear from the town too. I know, Jill, you said that the town is putting brine on, did you say that Continental, on their part of Continental or not? I know you said they were.
When we were supposed to get that ice storm and all the way to Continental, all the way down to the lights here. I didn't go any further.
I saw it on Amherst Road through the wellhead protection area on Amherst Road.
Did you?
Yeah.
Saw Brian? Yeah.
It looked like it was like.
Yeah, streaks in the road, right?
Streaks all over, yeah.
Okay. Well, that would, that's good for I don't think they mentioned that at the last meeting, so.
Well, the last meeting we had was before this.
Before they did it,
storm.
maybe. All right.
I know they had committed to wanting to do that, but.
Right.
It would be nice to get some factual reporting on the things that were actually done and achieved, and to have a line item of lists that everybody commits to do, right? Even if it says this is what we could be doing, but we're not doing it right now because we don't have the funds for it. Well, then the next step is to, talk to legislature or whoever we need to talk to about getting the funds for that.
Let's not forget, because this keeps echoing in my mind all the time, is when Jamie said that he got a call from Brandon Kernan at DES with this watershed grant for the salt studies that we're doing. And he said, if you need some grant money for any of this equipment, let us know.
Yep.
Well, it's not MVD that's salting, brining the streets, it's the town has an opportunity here to recoup some of that cost.
Yeah, and that should be an action item, there should be an action item that we approach the town, respectively, the attendance of that meeting from the town are actively pursuing that grant money.
So I actually have forwarded Lori.
Good.
I don't recall what it was. There was a grant opportunity out there.
Yeah.
It was a source water protection.
Was it
grant.
source water? Okay. And I did forward her that for, brining equipment or whatever.
Right. That would be an awesome opportunity, the town's incurring costs to change their equipment around that. If it's covered by grant money that they're offering to us, just, definitely involve Jamie and bring it up at the next salt reduction meeting that there is grant money available, and I would make sure, I think Lori's mostly the one that's on the call from the town that talks most, that she's aware of this. I'm sure once, the town understands that there's a potential for grant money to possibly recoup money they've already spent or they're gonna spend, that's gonna open up some eyes for sure, right?
Yes, so.
Let's not forget that. I think that's an important part of that meeting.
And this whole salt reduction committee that we're, that'll open up more money as well.
That's right. Yeah,
when it's completed.
According to what Jamie's guesses, right?
So
I'm sorry to-
warrant articles mentioned for this next meeting somewhere. Where are those at?
And I don't want to keep beating that, but I've been involved in other such meetings, right, about PFAS and, with some of the polluters even and so on. And the end was, that was a lot of lip service, no offense, right? So, and I'm not saying this is lip service, we are making progress. But until we put stakes in the ground that say, this is what everybody's, not everybody, this is what, Joe Blow and Dave Smith and Paul Harris are gonna be doing here. If we're not writing this down and pursuing it meeting after meeting, the way we're doing it with the action item list, it's just gonna keep trickling. Maybe if you could maybe reach out to Brendan to what is it, Landry?
Steve Landry.
Steve Landry, and maybe even to the town, right? And to Jamie from Emory Garrett, if you wanted to reach out to them and ask, should we collect some action items from the last couple of meetings and start tracking those? And maybe go to the next meeting on the 27th with that list of items. Because otherwise it's another meeting where we did not track it. We did not put our foot down, including ourselves, right? So.
It would be nice too for like commissioners, like if we're swapping out commissioners that are going, then
Right.
even if you didn't go last meeting, you know what the items were.
Right. By us. Good points.
Thank you.
All right, so that completes the action items. What do we got left here? Old business. Anybody have any old business to bring back?
Actually, I have a quick question. Any update about Turkey Hill extension where they with the vandalism?
No, I mean, we're looking into security cameras for all of our buildings. We actually had a meeting set with our security, our lock guy and the security as well. He could not, thank you. I think he got sick or something. He couldn't make the meeting, so we actually postponed it. We're trying to get another date together to schedule that, so.
But no other instance?
No, there hasn't been, that I'm aware of. We did tape the hole, so we know if there's any extras there, we.
Yeah, it's like at the range.
Well,
Somebody shot our booster station?
Yeah, it's on Turkey Hill Road. There's like
Duct tape,
seven.
I'm moving up north.
Didn't hit anything vital or anything, just,
One of them made it inside though.
yeah, make it inside.
Pretty scary.
But it was, we did it for a couple reasons, so that we could identify if there's anything new, and then also keep the moisture out of the siding, just so that we have to get behind the wall, so.
Yeah, it'd be, I'd wonder if would be good to get that information out there, so whoever did it realizes that we're aware of it, and now we're looking at it, and we got cameras going in, and they better.
Yeah. And there could be people inside of these buildings too.
Yeah, yes.
We did speak with Matt Tarleton, and you had mentioned something about doing a press release or something, and he didn't recommend that.
Oh, really?
Calls attention to the building, and he thought it might make it more vulnerable.
Right.
People who drive by it all the time don't even know what it is, so he's gonna take a couple pot shots at it.
You should put
Everybody would know what it is.
warning back.
Yeah. All right, so that's old business. Any other old business? If not, new business, any new business from anyone? All right, then seeing none, we'll move on to superintendent report.
So I don't really have one thing left on there now. And it's just, our media exchange, so January 30th, GC was picked up at Wells 2 and 9. Returned on February 13th. Then as they brought the media back, they went over and picked up the media at 7 and 8. That was brought back on the 20th, not even a week, it was about a week turnaround. And I've already scheduled for 4 and 5 to be not ad-libbing, but I'm not actually reading it, so now I'm lost in my April 20th. I'm sorry, April 16th, the week of the 15th is gonna be April 16th. They're gonna pick up the media at 4 and 5. And they actually sent me, he said, the earliest we can get in for the reactivation will be April 20th. So basically, they're gonna pick it up on the 16th, drive it over, drop it off, and get it regen. It could be a week turnaround, it could be,
Nice.
This is
it's,
comparatively, this is like 9 day.
it has been right down to. So we've had to do new profiles and everything.
Oh, really?
The profile paperwork is easier. It's the same information. I don't know if it's getting easier because now we've done, you know, 5 changeouts, so it makes it easier. Staff has noticed in the stations, they're like, this is awesome. They actually, we did, so.
And know it's a new company again?
GAC Core.
Oh, yeah.
Carbon activated core. So they actually sell the media as well. It's actually been cheaper.
Wow.
Going with this, yes. So, we get back into it. Lost my place and I'll get back into it. So the,
Less overtime because it's gone so smoothly too.
yeah,
Yeah, I saw those in the,
2 and 9 cost was 48,000 per vessel. So it was like a $97,000 change out, which I think we budgeted
44.
140.
wow.
7 and 8 came in at 56,000. And I don't have a final cost yet I just have an estimate for 4 and 5 would be 763.48. And I expect it to be cheaper than that, only because we've been actually doing pretty good with the media on the changeouts. We've actually been, that estimate was on 15% makeup, and we've been 8%.
Oh, really?
Or less, so yeah.
Wow. So this company reconstitutes what our existing media and then provides us the
The
makeup
makeup
as
media,
well, right?
that's the GAC 1240 plus that we
Yeah.
wanna pilot as well.
Pilot that, yeah. See if we did 100% of it.
But it's been night and day. Like I said, staff has noticed it. What I wanted to mention was the day that they picked up. So when they picked up the media at 2 and 9, they had 4 trailers. And when they bring it back, they come back with 2, because it's obviously 2 vessels they gotta put the regenerated in. And I just mentioned to him, I said, I gotta do another change out as well. Can we have, when you're here, can you have those 2 trucks go over and, because you need the 2 trucks for the slurry out at 7 and 8 on 1 vessel. Yeah, we see if that works. Oh, yeah, that works fine. So they did put media into 1 vessel and then changed out the second
And then took it out of the other one. Yeah.
in 1 day. Yeah.
That's awesome. And where are they coming from? They're saving,
New York.
yeah, so they're saving a whole trip from New York to
Yeah.
be able to piggyback that together.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's
Yeah,
great. It's working out like that. Good.
Actually, I shouldn't say that it was 1 day. I think they did it the following morning. They went over and did 7 and 8. So they just need the night and went over.
Oh, good.
Wow. Staff has noticed it. They're just changing it so much quicker. So the whole day it's been, they've been out by noontime, 1 o'clock. They've been done on the changeout. So it's been going nice. The only hiccups we had, and not that they were really hiccups, Avoca or Desertec uses, they have vacs on their trucks. They don't have vacuums, so they use a Venturi system. So we actually have to have a water source that creates the vacuum and then be able to use the water to. So it was just another fitting that we had to pick up. When we noticed at 2 and 9, we actually jumped off the hydrant, ran some hose out, and we were able to do it that way. So.
When you have those dates, would you mind sharing those again, please, like last time? I didn't make it last time, but I would actually like to see that firsthand.
Yeah, I didn't want to refuse it when they called back to, we'll be here on the 20th with your media, like, okay, we shut them because we didn't have the hatch closed, right? We had to, bacteria, do all the.
Oh, yeah.
You were expecting it so fast.
Like, I don't want to refuse. Can you wait a week? Because it happened so quick. I don't want to tell them not to do it, but I will.
Only if you can.
Yeah, so then, again, the next one will be April 20th.
Yeah, and that's right on.
I keep saying it's the 16th. When they're gonna.
And that's right on the April 22nd target date. So we're right on the money on that one. Yeah, so on that, the PFAS monitoring summary that Underwood puts together, I think Lynette does this chart, this table. So she could probably update a lot of these dates.
Actually, I thought they were, because I did give her all the, I didn't look at the dates.
She might have given them
Oh.
the change out.
Yeah,
I did talk to her and she has all the dates when the,
all right, good, because then she can update this chart that she does.
9 is back online already. 7 and 8, we were backwashing a little bit today. And it should, I'm hoping tomorrow when it's not forward flowing. And it was actually, arsenic was very little, no iron and nice.
Wow.
Good news.
Well, that's because we're using the reconstituted media, right? So that,
But there is some makeup, so.
yeah, but it's 8% with.
Yeah, it was
10%.
very,
Yeah,
very minimal, so,
thankfully,
and it's the plus, so it's acid washed as well.
right,
so.
right. Yeah, so you gotta think if they wash it, it's getting the arsenic out and the iron, you know? I don't know.
It should, and you would, the last one we had with Desertec, there was 7 and, it was 7 and 8. 50 parts per billion in arsenic. Wow, it was incredible, and yeah, I think the total was, makeup was like 4,000 pounds that we were supposed to get. They shipped us 9,000, so we had extra media in there as well, and that we did not pay for.
Good.
But it was just off the charts, and we had to work through that, but.
Good. So I guess the last thing on the regular meeting here is just questions from the press and public. I don't know if there's nobody here in person. We can check on the Zoom and see if there's anyone in the audience in the Zoom call. Looks like it's all just MVD related, all right? Yeah, I guess the next thing we can do is just to recess. I think we want to have a motion in a second to recess so that we can begin the public hearing, which is starting at 7. So right now it's 7:50,
No, 6.
6:52. So if someone can entertain a motion in a second to go, to move into the public hearing, and then I'll just wait till 7 o'clock to start the actual public hearing then.
Vote to recess.
We're doing this here.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah. All right, it's motion by Ken to recess the regular meeting,
I'll second.
second by Aaron. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. In favor of that, John?
Aye.
All right, so we are, the regular meeting is recessed for the public hearing that passed 4-0-0. And we'll wait till 7 o'clock so that we can start the the public hearing on the budget and warrant articles.
5-0. So
5-0-0, I'm sorry, yeah.
right.
Press the meeting before the public hearing.
All right, welcome again, Merrimack. This is a public hearing. This is the Merrimack Village District. And this is a public hearing for the proposed 2024-2025 operating budget and warrant articles. Today is February 26, 2024. I will declare the public hearing relative to the Merrimack Village District proposed 2024 and 2025 operating budget and warrant articles open for comments. The public notice of this public hearing was advertised in the online version of the Nashua Telegraph and the February 18, 2024 printed edition. The public hearing notice was also posted on the Merrimack Village District website, www.mvdwater.org, at the MVD office and at the Merrimack Town Hall, post office and library. The purpose of today's public hearing is to allow comments from the public in relation to the proposed 2024-2025 operating budget and warrant articles. When all comments have been received, I will close the public hearing and the board will go into session to consider action on the proposed 2024-2025 budget and warrant articles. Are there any questions about the procedure? All right, seeing none, at this point, the public, if any questions are available from the public, this is the time to ask any questions from the public. See, we have two people from the public in our audience tonight.
That's more than we had.
That's more than we had the last couple of years, I think. This year, we're doing it here at the MVD office instead of the high school. Just because I think it's a little more convenient for everybody and we didn't get too much attendance at the last couple of years. So with that being said, are there any questions that the two members of the public have for the board tonight?
I have one question, sir.
Sure.
I'm sorry, you have to state.
Yeah, I think you want to state your name for the
Address.
record and
I
address.
live in Woodland Park, 11 Fernwood Drive,
Thank you.
for 40 years.
Great.
So,
We'll give you two questions then.
actually, I do have two then. Okay, so it looks like account 60650, filtration PFAS. And I noticed that it is jumping up. It's basically doubled three years in a row, 70 and 150 to almost 261. Not quite double.
Right.
And the question I have is, with the money we're spending on it, do we have PFAS under control and reduced to the state Department of Environmental Services standards, or are we still wrestling with elevated levels of PFAS in the PFOA?
Yeah, great. That's a great question. So our finished drinking water has PFAS that's essentially non-detectable. So we're actually much better than the state regulations require us. The state regulates 4 PFAS compounds, with the only one that our water was in, the well water is in violation of is PFOA, and the limit of that is 12. And currently we have never had PFOA breaking through the filters into our finished water now that we've had the last of our 3 treatment plants placed online, which was the last one that was placed online was March of 2023. So with that treatment plant online, all of our wells are treated. And furthermore, we're also sampling in the distribution system at how many locations do we have? At least 6 or 8, maybe 8 or 9. And the numbers pretty consistently after that last treatment plant went online have been mostly not even detectable of all of the PFAS. So the board here, the commission here kind of took on our own policy of attempting to the maximum extent possible to have non-detectable PFAS in the water. And that was represented back in 2019 when the warrant articles were passed for funding the treatment plants. The goal of the warrant articles for the treatment plants was to have non-detectable PFAS in the water. So that's pretty much what we've been experiencing. So I think we're doing a pretty good job at that.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, because when I look at the reports on the website, they're pretty technical.
They are.
I'm not a water scientist or engineer, so I have a hard time comprehending them, and you just put in simple layman terms. So thank you for that.
Great.
I went to one of the open houses for one of your treatment centers.
Okay.
And the gentleman there was wonderful, and it was quite an impressive operation.
Right,
I came away like with a big wow.
right.
So it was nice.
Was that the plant at, that's the road at Wells?
209.
Very lame.
Berry Lane?
Yeah, very late.
Yeah, yeah. Good.
Yeah, it was in the last 6 or 8 months, I think. Open house was.
I just had a quick comment in the jump, is that 2023, we had 1 treatment plant, then 2, then 3. So
Right.
that's where you see
That's
a
why, okay.
significant jump.
Yeah, makes sense.
And maybe quick, that table that I just handed you over here on the right, you're gonna see in the columns the dates of sampling,
Okay.
and in the horizontals, in the lines, the sampling points in the distribution system, not at the well, but actually within the system all around town. In other words, and you can tell that the last couple of columns are all non-detect.
Yeah, the ND stands for non-detect, so
Right.
the lab's not even detecting them.
Yeah, because I was pulling the concentration stuff and
Oh, yeah,
this didn't
Graphs.
but I assume that's before treatment and filtration, not after.
that's right.
So, uh,
Yeah,
That needs to be footnoted.
yeah, that's a good point. That's what's going into the filters, not what's coming out.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
It should also be noted that a lot of the results that you see online, if it says well 7, well 8, well 2, well 9, those are raw water samples.
Yeah.
Then it says TP 2/9, that's the finished water. So any place where you see TP, that's what you're drinking.
right. Those aren't on the graphs, those are on the raw, the lab reports, if you look on the website.
Okay.
So if you find the correct lab reports, and it's hard to find, it's very technical, the ones that are labeled TP means treatment plant. And basically, if you look at the results of that sample, you'll see non-detect of all of the PFAS compounds.
Yeah, I find that lab report.
It's very challenging, it is,
Thank you for this.
right?
Appreciate it.
So I think that was the 2 questions that you had asked, that are satisfied with those answers, hopefully. All right, anything further? Any other questions more?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right.
Sure, thank you all for coming to my party. That's what this is all about. I had one good comment to start with. I'm delighted to see that employee recognition numbers are up there. You're doing something to.
Oh, yeah.
Employees, so I think that's a great way to go on.
Can we get your name and address?
Oh, yeah, sorry, forgot
Please?
name and address.
Name and address?
Oh, Richard Barry, Barry, 12 Kyle Road, West Oshkosh, Texas. Also 40 years, by the way. Just moved in here 40 years ago. From the other state. I had a couple of questions as I looked at the chemicals mixture. They used to be 70 and 150, now they're 260. I'm assuming that's because of PFAS?
It's also due to 1 treatment plant, then 2, and now we have 3.
Okay.
And there's been a pretty significant price escalation in addition to that too.
It's been just price increases. It's really not because of the treatment plants.
It's the cost from the vendor?
Right. There was a big supply chain issue in the water industry with the COVID supply chain issues. I don't know that the prices have worked their way back down at all, but
They're starting to.
yeah, so a lot of the big jump was related to that supply chain issue where the cost went up crazy because you couldn't get a lot of the chemicals. They were scarce, so that means the price went up. But in addition to having more treatment plants online, we kind of got double barreled with those 2 items for those 2 reasons.
Fuels up, just normal.
Fuel surcharges and things. Yeah.
Okay, that was one. The other one on the general operating budget. You've kept items like electricity, heating and fuel based on past usage. I think you're gonna get beat up with electricity. it's just floundering around with the numbers and the town, you probably know the town is looking at going to a community type purchase on this.
Yeah, I see they have a commission established that they were meeting about. I don't really know much about it, but
They've had a couple of public meetings. They've got another one coming up. And then they're gonna go to bid. Place like Exeter is already doing that. There's several places around that have done a little homework. You don't want to live in Rhode Island at this time because theirs backfired, nor California. We have a daughter out there and that backfired. But there are a number of really good ones. And the guy who is currently chair of, get this into a pitch, I'm sorry, but current chair of my old job, Science and Tech up in the State House. He lives in Exeter and their town is thinking about going through the same thing. So I've asked him pieces of, so.
We do actually have a locked-in rate with our service provider, which is outside of Eversource.
Yeah, I would expect because of the size of years that it would be locked in.
So it's actually significantly less than what Eversource is offering for the service. We still pay Eversource for delivery. So we're still on their charges for that, but we have one more year, which will cover this fiscal year. And we're at, I believe, just shy of 8 cents a kilowatt.
Oh, you're doing good work. So maybe we ought to put you on a commission. I'm dead serious. I had a question on PFAS also. It's budget related, but not. You have a hold harmless clause with your, with the people that are taking your waste? Such that if they get burned somewhere, they're gonna say, it's not mine, I got it from these guys, and this, do you have a hold harmless clause?
I'll have to look into that. I don't, it's in the contract, but they take it, regenerate and bring actually our regenerated media back. So we actually reuse our media.
That's good.
And from what I understand, it's a thermal process where they burn the PFAS off of the carbon media that we give them. And that destroys the PFAS as far as I understand. I think if they,
so, yeah.
if they heat it to the certain temperature. So I think that kind of stops the legacy at that point, because it's not like they just transfer the PFAS from our carbon into something else that they have to dispose of. I think the process actually destroys.
I always have a contract review with Jerry's office.
Does that process?
Do you have a contract review process when we have, before we sign a contract?
I don't know that terminology, and that doesn't sound familiar, but
there was a meeting about a year or two ago where we discussed that. I remember bringing that up actually.
Right.
And you reported back at the time what you just said, that it is being destroyed. We were not told how it is being destroyed, to answer your question. That was not disclosed to us, but we were told it is a thermal process, and that it renders the PFAS, turn into byproducts at the end of it that are not harmful. And I think at the time we went through an exercise to have the contract reviewed, whether or not it includes an indemnification clause, and I think it did, but that was 2 years ago, so we would have to double check.
And we've also been using a different vendor, so I would need to look at that.
Yeah, that's true.
We just changed the vendor, so. But on a side note, I want to set up a field trip to go actually look at one of these.
I wanna go with you.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I think that'd be so cool.
This is a point of information. In 2021, the US Air Force was testing this plasma reactor process to destroy the forever chemicals in contaminated groundwater. So,
But that last one,
I'm not sure, but that's something that you may want to take a look at if what you're doing now is not, fully that, or if it's destroying it in the groundwater, is that better than what we're utilizing today, filtration?
Right, right. Yeah, I know there are a lot of, I'm on mailing lists and I get from I'm in the water industry in my profession as well, and I do receive information about different like new technologies that are being tested and everything, and definitely keeping an eye on that. And I think, I'm not aware of any that have been brought to full scale size that they would be applicable to something for MVD. I mean, we're pushing up on a 5 million gallon a day water system. So something to that scale to treat that amount of water, I'm not aware that it's been developed anything significant other than treatment media yet. But if that comes along, we'll certainly look at pilot testing it and potentially using it. If it'll save us cost and liability, we're certainly on board with that. Yep.
If I may, you heard of polychlorinated biphenyls?
Yes.
I worked in Pittsfield, Mass. My hometown, I worked for GE.
Oh.
And I went through the process where, a similar process you're going through with the EPA. And a good friend of mine was in charge of the whole process. I won't get into the nitty-gritty, but I will say at the end, they had developed a process to do similar to this, but they were taking it out on Japanese boats at really high temperatures and burning it. So we tried to get that off of the list and they wouldn't approve the process.
Wow.
That's 40 years ago.
Right.
And because they're the largest employer in town, Pittsfield's a disaster.
Right. Yeah, so there's definitely a
nervous when things like
yeah.
Been around here.
This
used to be a GE plant. I'm sorry.
Right. There's definitely a time lag between testing and implementing it full scale, because whenever you provide drinking water, it has to go through an NSF approval. There's a certification for any kind of chemical or material that is used in the water industry. So that would have to be a certification that they would need to get before we could even use it in full scale.
Clearer. I hear you and I believe you.
Yeah.
When he went to the EPA and sat down and said, okay, how do we get this approved? So we have no procedure for doing that.
Right. Wow.
That's scary.
Yeah. Right. Well, thank you for your questions.
Other than that, I'm interested to see how the new process works.
Sure. If that's everything, says on here, any questions from the press? I don't see that. Is there any other questions from anybody that may be on the public hearing Zoom call here? Looks like everybody just from MVD on the Zoom call then. All right. Okay, sure.
Last page, you took in 300,000 of the capital reserve funds. Get the last page of 8 of 9 and all the way to the back.
The warrant article?
That's last year's budget, so that's
Oh.
what we're doing for this
That's
current year.
already- Oh, this is still part of this. That's it.
Okay.
Damn fool can't read.
It's a lot of information.
All right, well, seeing no further questions, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Board of Commissioners will reopen the session of the Merrimack Village District Board of Commissioners meeting to conclude any additional business. So at this time, I guess I'll entertain a motion to go back or to end the public hearing and go back into the regular meeting.
So moved.
All right, motion by Wolf and second by Aaron. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, so now that public hearing is over, do we need to take any votes to move the budget and warrant articles forward, or is that
did that last meeting, but we can do it again where it's to.
Okay.
Public hearing.
All right, so that being said, if someone wants to make a motion to move the proposed budget, 24-25 budget and warrant articles,
I do have one silly
okay?
notice. On the form, we have Article 7, but then it goes to Article 9. Was there a need, or we just,
That's a good question.
79.
Oh.
Nice find.
500 times. You won't see it.
All right, so,
We took out $20,000.
oh, yeah. So with that caveat, I guess we can amend the motion to move this forward with that proposed edit to change the number for Article 9 to Article 8. So you guys good with the first and second on that as well? You made the motion.
So moved.
Yeah.
Let's do it official. So moved.
A second.
All right, so all those in favor of that signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. I think that was all the business that I'm aware of. The next meeting is scheduled for March 18th here in this room. Then the annual meeting is March 26th. And that's Tuesday
Tuesday, March 26th in the high school cafeteria.
in the high school cafeteria.
It's
back at the high school.
7 PM.
7 p.m.
All right, so no other questions from the board, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion by Ken, second by Wolf. All those in favor?
Aye.
500. So that's it. Thank you, Merrimack. Thank you, Merrimack TV.
Thank you, Amanda.
See everybody next month.
States.